Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw tonight was from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, and this was the Fallout show for Survivor Series, which I didn't watch Survivor Series until last half hour of the show, which I only saw the women's Survivor Series elimination match and the main event, which was Roman Reigns versus Biggie, which that was a good match. It started off slow, but then it got better as the match went on. And I could tell that the fans there in Brooklyn, they were pretty much out of it. And I heard the show was fucking terrible. But those are the only two matches that I saw for, during Survivor Series last night. But overall, I heard it was an absolutely fucking terrible show. But Monday Night Raw tonight, what do you expect? The show was god-awful, as always. This show was an absolute disaster. And what do we get on the show tonight? We had, once again, Bianca Belair versus Tamina. We saw that last week. Why are we getting it again? We had AJ Styles and Omos versus the Street Profits. We crowned new Women's Tag Team Champions tonight, which I'll get to. And I'm like, these titles mean absolutely fucking nothing. We had Seth Rollins being attacked by a fan. And we had a 24/7 title match. Who gives a shit? It was Cedric Alexander versus Reggie. And then something else happened in the 24/7 match, which I'll get to. And I'm like, why? This title should be fucking retired ASAP. We had a 2-on-1 handicap match. Bobby Lashley ended up taking on Rhea and Dominic Mysterio. And in the main event, we had Biggie versus Austin Theory for the WWE Championship. And this all came about because last night at Survivor Series, Vince McMahon was present. And he had a golden egg from what I saw. And I'm like, really? A golden fucking egg that Vince had. And then the golden egg disappeared in the night, later on in the night. And then tonight on Monday Night Raw, they're still looking for the golden egg. We had superstars looking for it. It was like they were looking for the garbage-ass 24/7 title. It was a fucking circus. So whoever found the golden egg would get a WWE Championship match against Biggie later on in the night. And who found it? Austin Theory. Awful. God-awful with this whole golden egg shit. Hey Vince, Mr. Willy Wonka called. He said you took a golden egg that was laid from the geese. Instead, it had chocolate in it. Awful. God fucking awful. I saw that shit last night, and I'm like, really? They're carrying on with a storyline with Vince and a golden fucking egg. Are you serious? It was fucking terrible. But anyways, let's get right into the review. Monday Night Raw opened up tonight with Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon was with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. And the display case that had the golden egg, which was known as Cleopatra's $100 million golden egg, was empty still. Vince wasn't happy about that. Oh, your golden egg is still missing? And then Vince ends up saying, oh yeah, the egg was gifted to him by The Rock. And from what I heard, this egg is featured in Red Notice, which is The Rock's new movie on Netflix. And Vince ended up saying that this isn't a prop. It's the real deal. which this was during the video package from Survivor Series last night. So we saw that. And then we go back to Vince in his office. He ended up going on about how The Rock gave the egg to him. And they keep mentioning The Rock because originally WWE wanted The Rock to appear at Survivor Series last night. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And fans are like, oh yeah, The Rock, he's going to return at Survivor Series. He's going to make an appearance. I knew that The Rock wasn't going to appear last night at Survivor Series. So WWE tricked the hell out of all of you that thought The Rock was going to make an appearance last night at Survivor Series. I didn't even fall for it. I knew The Rock wasn't going to be there. So Vince ended up saying that it's not just about the value. It's about stealing something from him. So Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce interviewed every superstar, and that there was no luck on the superstars finding the egg. They even said that they even had police come in with a search warrant. Really? Who is writing this shit? So Vince ended up saying that Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville will be out of their jobs if he doesn't get the egg back before the night is over. He ended up saying that they believe a superstar did it, and that they have surveillance footage that may help. So Vince ended up saying that the person who brings him the culprit will have an opportunity to face Biggie for the WWE Championship. So that was that. This whole stupid shit of a storyline that they did with the golden egg. Awful. It was fucking awful. And then we saw Randy Orton backstage. Kevin Patrick ended up approaching Randy Orton, and Kevin Patrick ended up expecting to interview Matt Riddle before Riddle went into his match with Dolph Ziggler. And Matt Riddle was nowhere to be found. So Orton ended up telling Kevin Patrick that it's not like Matt Riddle to miss a match. Orton went on to say that they were celebrating their win last night at Survivor Series, and Orton ended up saying that he was giving Matt Riddle a pep talk, and that he can't find him. So then we see Matt Riddle end up walking up. Matt Riddle had a new hairstyle, new haircut. He had a fake mustache, which looked fucking awful. And Orton ended up asking what he's been doing. Matt Riddle ended up telling Orton, relax. And he ended up telling Randy Orton that he's been doing Viper things. So Matt Riddle ended up saying that he's still him, and that he's going to do things like Randy Orton. So basically Matt Riddle was trying to be like Randy Orton and sporting the new haircut and the fake awful looking mustache. So Matt Riddle ended up saying how he will take care of Dolph Ziggler. And so Orton ended up yelling at Matt Riddle. Orton ended up saying that he's heard enough. So Matt Riddle then misunderstood what Randy Orton said. Orton ended up saying that Matt Riddle doesn't want to get in his head. So Matt Riddle, he was, trying to act like Randy Orton. He ended up calling for Orton's music to be played. And that was that. They headed out to the ring. So then we had the first match of the night, Matt Riddle versus Dolph Ziggler. So we had, Riddle and Randy Orton coming out. And then Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode came out. So we had the match start off with Dolph Ziggler end up catching a kick to take Matt Riddle down. So Riddle ended up scooping up Dolph Ziggler, but Dolph Ziggler ended up countering it, and he rolled Riddle up for a 2 count. So Orton ended up looking on from ringside. Matt Riddle ended up locking up with Dolph Ziggler. Riddle went for a armbar takedown, and Ziggler ended up countering it with a quick pin attempt. So both Riddle and Ziggler end up locking up again. Ziggler ended up going behind. He ended up nailing a drop kick, and he went for a cover on Riddle, which Riddle ended up kicking out too. So Dolph Ziggler ended up grounding Riddle in the middle of the ring, and Riddle ended up countering out of the corner. He ended up decking Dolph Ziggler. So Ziggler looked like he took off Riddle's mustache off, his fake awful looking mustache off. And also Matt Riddle's goatee, which he had a fake looking goatee, which also looked fucking terrible, went missing. So Riddle ended up doing a spinning gut wrench slam, planting Dolph Ziggler in the middle of the ring. Ziggler ended up rolling out to the ring. So Matt Riddle ended up launching himself over the top rope out to the floor. Dolph Ziggler ended up catching him in midair with a super kick. So Dolph and Robert Roode ended up standing tall at ringside. They were taunting Randy Orton. So as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Matt Riddle ended up dropping Dolph Ziggler with an overhead kick. So Riddle kept the momentum going on Dolph Ziggler. Riddle ended up catching Dolph Ziggler with a power slam, and we had Riddle end up going for Orton's second rope draping DDT, but Dolph Ziggler ended up blocking it. Ziggler ended up backdropping Riddle over the top rope out to the floor. Riddle ended up running right back into the ring, and Dolph ended up nailing the Famous Sir, which he went for the cover, which Riddle ended up kicking out too. So at the end of the match, Matt Riddle ended up pounding on the mat just like Randy Orton. Matt Riddle ended up dropping Dolph Ziggler with the RKO, and he went for the cover, and there you go. Matt Riddle ended up winning the match. Post-match, Robert Roode ended up rushing into the ring. He ended up swinging at Matt Riddle. Riddle ended up ducking him. Orton then ended up kicking Roode. Orton ended up scooping Roode up and delivered the Bro Derek. And Orton and Matt Riddle ended up celebrating in the ring. And that was that. But overall, this match was an okay match, in my opinion. And then we went backstage, and we had the superstars tearing up the locker room and brawling with each other as they look for the stupid golden egg. R-Truth ended up saying that he found a football, and he confused the football for the egg. And then he accidentally entered the woman's locker room. So R-Truth ended up running back out of the woman's locker room because a woman was screaming at him. This was awful. This was fucking awful. This was like them looking for the garbage ass 24/7 title. Which we got to get that on the show tonight. Later on. And then we had Becky Lynch end up coming out. Becky Lynch got a huge pop from the Brooklyn crowd. And we had Becky Lynch get on the mic. And she ended up talking about some of her biggest moments being in Brooklyn. So Becky ended up going on about how she and Charlotte wanted to hurt and maim each other last night at Survivor Series. And Becky ended up saying that the fans loved it all, and that she didn't care who walked out the winner. Which, originally, from what I heard, this was rumored to happen with Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. Originally, WWE wanted to go with a sort of a Montreal screw job. A HBK and Bret Hart, screw job with Becky and Charlotte. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. Becky Lynch ended up winning the match, so there was no controversial finish as what they originally wanted to do. So, but that's what I heard, that match originally was going to end in a controversial finish. So Becky Lynch ended up saying, that is over now, and we're moving on to something fresh and new. So she ended up asking who they want to see at the top. Do the fans want to see Bianca Belair? Do they want to see Rhea Ripley? Or maybe her new number one contender, Liv Morgan? Becky ended up saying that she used to put so much stock into fan opinions until she learned that those opinions are full of crap, which the fans end up booing Becky. So Becky ended up, scolding the fans for their chants and their stupid songs. So Becky ended up saying that it hurts her to say this, but she agrees with the crowd, as none of those so-called superstars have what it takes to beat her, especially Liv Morgan. Becky wanted to say that fans like Liv Morgan because she's the underdog, and that she only won one match in 4 years. Becky wanted to say that fans will just bitch and moan because Liv won't beat her, and not every underdog has its day. She ended up saying that she has a death grip on the Raw Women's Championship, and that no one is taking the title away from her. So Becky then dropped the mic, raised the title in the air, and that was how the segment ended. But Becky Lynch, ever since she returned, she has been awful. She's been absolutely awful on the mic, and this heel turn is just making her have go away heat. Nobody wants to see Becky getting booed. Nobody wants to boo her. But Becky Lynch, like I said, since her return, she has been absolutely terrible. And then we had Bianca Belair versus Tamina. We got this match last fucking week. What was so different that we saw in the match tonight that we saw last week? Same shit. Yet Tamina still has a job, but they let go Tegan Nox. And they let go Taya Valkyrie. But yet, WWE finds value in Tamina and also Dana Brooke. Which, I gotta get to talking about Dana Brooke later on. Because I'm like, oh my god. Wait until I get to talking about it. So we had Bianca Belair versus Tamina. Bianca Belair ended up coming out. She got on the mic. She was talking about fans cheering her on last night in the Women's Survivor Series match. She wanted to say that she was able to be the sole survivor and that she proved to both brands that she is the strongest. And now there is no doubt because she is the sole survivor. So we had the fans chanting EST. And Bianca ended up saying maybe Doudrop will go on somewhere now. So pretty much that was that. And then Tamina and Natalya came out. Match started off with Bianca and Tamina end up locking up. Tamina ended up decking Bianca, ended up missing Irish whip across the ring. Bianca ended up jumping on the second turnbuckle, and she was taunting Tamina. She laid some drop kicks on Tamina. Bianca kept control of the match. She ended up hitting a suplex on Tamina, and then a kip up. So Bianca delivered a handspring into a moonsault on Tamina. She went for the cover. Tamina kicked out too. Tamina got back up. She shoved Bianca into the corner, but she ended up running into a big boot from Bianca. So we had Bianca end up countering out of the corner. She tried to mount Tamina in the corner. Tamina ended up moving out of the way. She ended up slamming Bianca down. Tamina delivered a super kick and then delivered the Samoan drop on Bianca, which went for the cover, and Bianca ended up kicking out too. And then at the end of the match, Bianca ended up delivering the KOD to Tamina, and there you go. Bianca Belair ended up winning the match. Post-match, Natalya ended up rushing into the ring, ended up attacking Bianca. So we had Natalya and Tamina end up exiting the ring, and Doudrop ended up attacking Bianca from behind, laid her out. Doudrop ended up delivering a crossbody on Bianca, and then Doudrop ends up standing with Tamina and Natalya at ringside, and she walked up the ramp with both Natalya and Tamina, just going, yeah, that was Doudrop. Overall, god-awful match. We saw this match last week. Nothing different that we didn't see in the match, last week that we saw tonight. And then we had Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins ended up making his way out. He was smiling, as he came out. So, Monday Night Raw went to commercial. And then when Monday Night Raw came back, Seth Rollins was in the ring. Seth Rollins was bragging about carrying Team Raw on his back and how he was the sole survivor. And he ended up ripping into Kevin Owens for being a coward due to how he got himself counted out. Because from what I heard, Kevin Owens just eliminated himself in the Survivor Series match. So Rollins ended up going on about Finn Balor. And then Balor ended up coming out. Balor was doing his entrance. And Rollins ended up attacking Balor from behind. He knocked Balor out of the ring. Rollins was unloading on Balor at ringside. Rollins ended up rolling Balor back into the ring. Balor then got back up. He tackled Rollins, started throwing some strikes at him. Balor ended up delivering a right hand, knocked Seth Rollins out of the ring. So Balor ended up running the ropes. He leapt out with a suicide dive to Rollins on the floor. Balor ended up going back to the ring, and Rollins retreated right back out to the floor. Balor ended up charging at Rollins outside of the ring. Rollins ended up catching Balor, ended up slamming Balor face first into the top of the barricade. So Rollins started unloading on Balor around the ringside area, beating him down, stomping away at him. And then Rollins ended up grabbing half of the ring steps. He ended up smashing Balor in the face with those steps. So Rollins ended up rolling Balor back to the ring. He ended up nailing the stomp, which Balor was just laid out. So Rollins ended up coming back into the ring. He delivered another stomp, which kept Balor down. And so Rollins ended up making his way out of the ring. And this is where Rollins ended up getting attacked by a fan. This guy, a fan, he ran the stage and attacked Seth Rollins on the ramp. And this is why we can't have good things, because of fans like this. You already know, when a fan jumps on a superstar, beats them down, you already know that they are banned forever when the WWE comes to the Barclays Center. That fan will never, ever go to another WWE show after what he did tonight. What an idiot fan. And I got a video here that somebody posted here on YouTube. It's a fan video from someone who was in attendance there, was sitting floor level, that faced the ramp, faced the stage, and he had a good view of the fan running on the stage, running down the ramp, and attacking Rollins. So here's the clip right here.
Who this, a fan? fuck is this? That's a fan. What the fuck is you doing, boy? Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck is going on, bro? Bro, what the fuck? Yo, what the fuck?
What an idiot fan. See, I don't understand when fans do this. And this happened one other time with Rollins. You all might remember the Monday Night Raw where Rollins ended up making his way out and a fan was on the side of the ramp. He jumped on the ramp and then security ended up just attacking him there. And the fan was behind Rollins and Rollins ended up turning around. Yeah, probably you all might remember that. But like I said, that's not the first time a fan, got behind Seth Rollins and attacked Rollins, or almost trying to attack Rollins. But yeah, this is the main talk about this Monday Night Raw, was that fan attacking Rollins. But fortunately, there's a video after the fan attacked Rollins. He was brought out by security, NYPD, the police took him into custody. He was removed from the Barclays Center. But when the fan ended up attacking Rollins, it cut away there. They cut away fast from there. And Rollins left from the stage. And he now has a bloody mouth. I guess that fan ended up punching him really hard. Ended up punching Rollins really hard that we saw Rollins with that bloody mouth. So, but that was basically that. And then we saw, the superstars running backstage looking for that golden egg. Who cares? It was a fucking circus. And then we had Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn was in Vince McMahon's office. Sami Zayn ended up asking Vince if a title shot is still being offered as a reward for finding the golden egg, the Cleopatra's golden egg. Sami ended up telling Vince that he knows who stole the egg, and that he's 95% sure. Vince ended up asking if Sami knows who the thief is or not. He ended up telling Sami to bring the person to his office. And Sami ended up telling Vince that the thief who stole the golden egg is not here yet. So Sami ended up wanting to shake Vince's hand, but Vince ended up telling him to deliver that person who stole the golden egg. So that was that. And then we had the Street Profits versus AJ Styles and Omos. The Street Profits ended up coming out first. Of course, they did their entrance. And then we went to Sarah Schreiber. Sarah Schreiber ended up catching up with Kevin Owens backstage. Kevin Owens ended up saying that he's looking for Cleopatra's golden egg. So Sarah Schreiber ended up asking Owens what he thinks of Seth Rollins' comments earlier. Owens ended up telling Schreiber that he wasn't listening to what Rollins had to say because he ended up saying that Rollins is just delusional. Owens ended up saying that he has great interest in who brings the golden egg to Vince McMahon. And if it's not him, he ended up saying that he will be paying attention to the WWE Championship match. And that's not a lie. So Kevin Owens then ended up walking off. And that was that. And then we went back to the ring. Styles and Omos ended up coming out. So Styles ended up starting off the match with Angelo Dawkins. They ended up going at it. They went back and forth. Montez Ford ended up coming in. Him and Dawkins ended up double teaming on Styles. So Styles ended up avoiding the Profits, and he ended up tagging in Omos. So the Profits end up staring down at Omos. Dawkins end up getting out of the ring. Montez Ford end up following him so that the both of them can regroup. So now as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Styles ended up dropping Dawkins with a kick, and he went for the cover, which Dawkins ended up kicking out too. So Styles ended up grounding Dawkins, ended up beating him down with some elbows, and Dawkins ended up leveling Styles with the silencer. Montez Ford ended up coming in, ended up leaping over Styles, ended up decking Omos on the apron, and it did nothing to Omos. It just angered the hell out of him. So Montez Ford and Styles end up going at it. Ford ended up leaping over Styles, ended up hitting a clothesline. And at the end of the match, we had Omos in the match. Omos ended up leveling Montez Ford. He ended up stopping Dawkins from coming in. He ended up sending Dawkins right back out to the floor. Omos ended up turning back to Montez Ford. And Dawkins ended up going out of the ring. And he ended up grabbing a bag. So Dawkins ended up pulling out a fire extinguisher. And he ended up spraying Omos with the fire extinguisher. And the referee ended up calling for the bell. And there you go. Styles and Omos win the match by disqualification. Post-match, Dawkins still was spraying Omos with the fire extinguisher. He ended up spraying Styles in midair as he tried to hit the phenomenal forearm. So Omos was shown checking in on Styles. And the Profits ended up celebrating on stage. Dawkins was still spraying the fire extinguisher. And that was that. But overall, this match was fucking awful. Terrible. And then we had Carmella and Queen Zelina backstage. Sarah Schreiber ended up stopping both Carmella and Zelina for comments on their plan in their match tonight against Nikki, A.S.H, and Rhea Ripley, which the women's tag team titles were on the line. So they end up saying that they need a game plan for Rhea Ripley because both of them are not worried about Nikki A.S.H. She ended up saying that Rhea Ripley has been carrying that team. They ended up saying that they will overpower Rhea Ripley with their royal skills and then leave Rhea Ripley and Nikki A.S.H. without the women's tag team titles. So pretty much that was basically that, but who cares? Who cares about this? And then we went to the match, Carmella and Queen Zelina versus Rhea Ripley and Nikki A.S.H. Women's tag team titles on the line. This was awful. This was absolutely awful. Before the match got underway, we had a new teaser vignette for Veer Mahan coming to Monday Night Raw. More like coming to catering, because when he debuts, Vince is going to use him. They're going to build him up to be a monster. And then, like 3 weeks, a month, he's going to get tired of Veer. And Veer is going to be off TV in catering. So that's where I see Veer Mahan going in WWE. So the match started, Carmella and Queen Zelina versus Rhea Ripley and Nikki A.S.H. Carmella ended up going ringside for her assistants to put on her stupid, ugly face mask, which now is a red mask, which still looks fucking ugly. So Rhea Ripley ended up coming out. She ended up kicking Carmella down. Rhea Ripley ended up rolling Carmella back in, started talking some trash to Zelina on the apron. Ripley ended up working on Carmella, and she ended up dropping Carmella and delivered a basement drop kick. Carmella ended up taking in Zelina. Zelina ended up going for a takedown, but Rhea Ripley ended up grabbing her and launched her across the ring. Rhea Ripley ended up stopping Zelina Vega from taking in Carmella. So we had Rhea Ripley end up decking Zelina Vega, put her on her shoulders, and Rhea Ripley ended up blocking a Hurricanrana, and she powered Zelina Vega up for a powerbomb, and Zelina Vega ended up countering the powerbomb with a tornado DDT. She went for the cover, which Rhea Ripley ended up kicking out too. And you had Nikki end up coming into the match. She ended up knocking Carmella off the apron. She delivered a neckbreaker to Zelina. She ended up delivering a clothesline to her. Nikki ended up splashing Zelina in the corner. Started mounting her in the corner with some rights. Nikki then delivered a bulldog out of the corner on Zelina. And then she delivered a neckbreaker. She went for the cover, which Carmella ended up breaking up the pin. But at the end of the match, we had Nikki end up getting double teamed by Zelina and Carmella. Carmella ended up super kicking Nikki, and the referee was distracted. Zelina Vega ended up following it up with the code red, and she went for the cover. And there you go. Carmella and Zelina, Queen Zelina, are your new women's tag team champions. And do I care? No. These titles mean nothing. Awful. Absolutely awful. We have two jobbers as new women's tag team champions. Fucking awful. Post-match, we had both Carmella and Zelina Vega. They were just screaming, celebrating. Annoying. Absolutely annoying. So then we had Sonya Deville coming to Vince's office. She was excited as her and Adam Pearce figured out what happened with Cleopatra's golden egg. So Sonya Deville ended up saying that Adam Pearce is about to bring him in now. So then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. And then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Sami Zayn was in Vince's office with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. Sami ended up bragging about getting this done. So they ended up yelling at Austin Theory to come in. Austin Theory then walked in. He ended up having the golden egg. And Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce were told to leave by Vince. So Vince ended up asking Austin Theory why he stole the egg. So Austin Theory ended up saying that he knew the value of Cleopatra's egg, but he just wanted to take a selfie with it. So, you mean to tell me that Austin Theory took the egg last night, kept it overnight, kept it during the day today, only to take a fucking selfie with it? Are you kidding me? Who is writing this fucking shit? This is awful. So, Sami ended up saying that he is excited. He ended up saying that Austin's Theory story is full of holes. Vince ended up saying that he's going to drop the charges because Austin Theory reminds him of himself. And he ended up saying that Austin Theory will get the shot at Biggie for the WWE Championship later on. Austin Theory ended up taking a selfie. Vince ended up posing in the background with the golden egg. And Sami was then ranted to Vince about how Vince went back on his word. So Vince was now clutching the stupid golden egg. He ended up telling Sami to shut up because no one likes a snitch. So that was that. So Austin Theory ended up getting a shot at the WWE Championship against Big E. So that was that. Oh, and then we went to this fucking piece of shit. Reggie, the jobber 24/7 champion. He ended up taking on Cedric Alexander. This was for the 24/7 title. Do I really need to talk about this shit? Cedric Alexander ended up winning the match. Lumbar check on Reggie. And Cedric Alexander won the 24/7 title. Post-match, we had the circus come out for, trying to get Cedric and the title. And then Dana Brooke ended up appearing out of nowhere. She ended up hitting a blockbuster. She ended up covering Cedric for the pin. And there you go. Dana Brooke is the new 24/7 champion. What the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? This is god fucking awful. Dana Brooke, a 24/7 champion. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh yeah, well, let's keep Dana Brooke because we see value in her, but let's get rid of Tegan Nox. Let's get rid of Taya Valkyrie. Yet, they see value in Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke is awful in the ring. I can't believe it. This title needs to be retired ASAP. It really does. This is fucking awful. So now we saw Rey Mysterio and Dominic backstage. Dominic ended up telling Rey that he should have done something when Bobby Lashley ended up applying the Hurt Lock last week. Rey ended up telling Dominic not to beat himself up. He ended up saying that Lashley isn't the first monster that he's dealt with. He ended up saying that he can fight his own battles, and that he doesn't need Dominic's help, and that he will fight by Dominic's side, fighting for him and the family. And Rey was speaking some words in Spanish. He ended up saying that Lashley should be shaken in his boots because he has a Mysterio whooping coming his way. So then we saw Sarah Schreiber. Sarah Schreiber ended up stopping Dana Brooke, who is the new 24/7 champion. My God, help us. And she was congratulating her, asking how she plans to defend a title that is always up for grabs. Dana Brooke ended up saying that she doesn't have a lot of time to talk, and that she created her own opportunity and won the 24/7 title. She ended up saying that she knows she has a target on her back, and that she overcame this like she has with every other obstacle. What obstacle? What other obstacle? You doing flips in the ring and an elbow to your opponents? That's the obstacle? She ended up saying this is her time to prove to everyone who she really is. Really? To prove to everyone that you're still a jobber? So Dana ended up walking off. Who fucking cares? And then we had a 2-on-1 handicap match. Rey and Dominic Mysterio versus Bobby Lashley. So we had Bobby Lashley end up coming out first. He came out along with MVP. Yes, MVP was there tonight. Last week he wasn't there. So then we had Rey and Dominic end up heading to the ring. MVP on the mic. MVP ended up saying that he has so much respect for Rey Mysterio because he is an icon of the industry. And despite his little size, he's become a giant. But MVP ended up saying that as a father, Rey leaves so much to be desired, and that he is disappointed in Rey as a father. MVP then ended up asking Rey if he's taught Dominic that monsters are real. Because Rey has faced many, but he's never faced a monster like the almighty Bobby Lashley. So MVP ended up asking Rey what he's going to do as a father when Dominic is in the Hurt Lock crying out for him, and he's powerless to do anything about it. So MVP ended up saying Rey's ego is going to get his son hurt, and he will have to explain to his wife that their son is hurt because of his ego. And when she is absolutely finished with Rey, Rey can give MVP's number to her so she can get with him. So that was what MVP had to say. And the match started off with Bobby Lashley running through Dominic. Lashley was talking trash to Rey as Dominic ended up jumping on his back, and Lashley ended up keeping control of the match. He started pounding on Dominic. He ended up going for a suplex, but Dominic ended up sliding out, ended up taking in Rey. Lashley ended up running to the ring post as both Rey and Dominic ended up sidestepping. Rey then unloaded on Bobby Lashley, and both Rey and Dominic were tagging in quickly. They were double teaming in the corner. Lashley was still on his feet. Lashley ended up catching Rey in midair and drived him into the mat. Lashley went for the hurt lock, but Dominic ended up flying in from the top rope with a missile drop kick, ended up taking out Bobby Lashley. So Rey ended up stopping Bobby Lashley from ramming Dominic into the ring post. He took Lashley down out to the floor. And at the end of the match, we had the Mysterios end up dropping Bobby Lashley into the ropes, and both Rey and Dominic delivered a double 619. Dominic ended up going to the top for the frog splash to Bobby Lashley. Rey ended up following up with the top rope splash. Lashley ended up kicking out. So Bobby Lashley ended up catching Dominic in the hurt lock. Lashley was ragdolling Dominic, and the referee ended up calling for the match. So Bobby Lashley ended up winning the match. Overall, this was just a very meh match. And then we had Kevin Patrick. Kevin Patrick was backstage with Big E. And Big E ended up saying to Kevin Patrick that he let a lot of people down at Survivor Series with the loss to Roman Reigns. He ended up saying that he can't blame Paul Heyman or the Usos. So Big E ended up putting the blame on himself. Big E ended up saying that he isn't worried about Seth Rollins or Kevin Owens because he has to defend the title against Austin Theory. Big E ended up saying that Austin Theory is young and brash, and that he's also very talented. Big E ended up saying that he will defend his title and leave the Barclays Center with the title, feeling pretty good. So that's what Big E had to say. And then we had Kevin Patrick backstage with Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan ended up saying that tonight is bittersweet because Team Raw won at Survivor Series. And then she got interrupted by Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch ended up insulting Liv Morgan for her underperforming at Survivor Series. She ended up going on about how she rooted for Liv Morgan in the Money in the Bank and that Liv Morgan failed once again because Liv Morgan was outshined by Nikki A.S.H, who won the title that Liv Morgan will never hold. Liv ended up saying that she held the title last week. Becky ended up saying that she does autograph signings all the time, and she lets kids hold the title. But that doesn't mean they will be champions. So Becky ended up going on about how Liv embarrassed herself, how she embarrassed her friends, her mom, and she embarrassed everyone else. So Liv Morgan was starting to get emotional. She was shown crying. So Becky was taunting Liv Morgan for crying. Liv ended up snapping at Becky. She ended up attacking her, but she ended up stopping. So Becky ended up looking a bit terrified at Liv Morgan for snapping on her. And that was basically that. And so we went back to the ring. Damian Priest ended up making his way out. And Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz ended up coming out. Commander Aziz ended up introducing Apollo Crews as a true Nigerian hero and soon-to-be savior of the United States Championship. Apollo Crews ended up addressing Damian Priest and ended up saying that lately he's had a split personality, apparently ashamed at who he is. He ended up saying he has embraced his Nigerian heritage, Apollo Crews, and is proud of who he really is. Apollo Crews ended up saying that he will decimate Damian Priest, as he is more powerful than ever. A true Nigerian warrior, one who will show the world that Damian Priest is not fit to be United States champion. Apollo Crews ended up going on about Priest, but Priest ended up yelling at him to interrupt, and Priest ended up reminding Apollo Crews that we're in New York. So Damian Priest ended up asking Apollo Crews if he hears that. Priest ended up saying that if you want to run your mouth here and tell the world about how you found each other, start a podcast or shut your damn mouth and fight. So Damian Priest ended up saying to Apollo Crews that if he wants to get to know the real him, they can throw down right now for the United States Championship. So Apollo Crews ended up saying to Damian Priest that he is a funny guy. So Apollo Crews ended up saying that if they're in Priest's hometown, but for them to fight, it wouldn't be fair. So Apollo Crews ended up saying the answer is no. So then out came Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn ended up saying that this is perfect. First, the whole world gets to see he was right all along about the conspiracy against him running to the top of WWE and to Vince McMahon himself, as Vince denied him the shot at the WWE Championship that he deserved. He ended up saying, but one door closed and another opened. So Sami ended up saying that if Apollo Crews doesn't want the match, he will happily accept, because he's not leaving here empty-handed. So Sami Zayn ended up saying that he promises to leave Brooklyn with the United States Championship. So we got the match. It was Damian Priest versus Sami Zayn, United States Championship on the line. The match ended up starting, and Sami Zayn ended up rolling right out to the floor. He was stalling. Damian Priest ended up catching Sami Zayn back into the ring. He ended up dragging him out, ended up rocking him at ringside. So there was a point where Sami Zayn ended up launching Damian Priest into the barricade, which looked like it hurt Damian Priest because he was, I guess, suplexed into the barricade. So that was pretty brutal. So Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial. Sami Zayn was working on Damian Priest. He was talking some trash. Sami was grounding Damian Priest, and Sami ended up delivering a boot thunderbomb in the middle of the ring, and Damian Priest ended up kicking out too. So Damian Priest at the end of the match, he ended up hitting the Reckoning. So he went for the pin, and there you go. Damian Priest ended up winning the match, retaining the United States Championship. But overall, this match, it was a decent match in my opinion. It wasn't bad. And then we had Kevin Patrick. Kevin Patrick ended up stopping Austin Theory backstage. Austin Theory ended up bragging about the WWE Championship shot against Big E and the selfie that he got to take with Vince McMahon. Austin Theory ended up saying that he's looking ahead to becoming the youngest WWE champion. He ended up saying no disrespect to Big E. He's been a great champion, but he was a loser at Survivor Series. Austin Theory ended up saying that everyone knows he's the future, and that the future is right now. He ended up saying that Vince certainly knows Austin Theory is the future, and that Big E will know it soon when he takes a selfie as the new WWE champion. So that was that. And then we had the main event, which was the match. Austin Theory versus Big E WWE Championship match. Big E ended up coming out. And then Austin Theory came out. And then Seth Rollins came out to watch the match. Seth Rollins was out there. So both Austin Theory and Big E ended up blocking up. And Big E ended up grabbing Austin Theory from behind. Theory ended up rolling Big E up for a 1 count. Theory was talking some trash to Big E, and he slapped Big E in the face. Big E started unloading into the corner. He was beating Austin Theory up with some forearms and some elbows. Big E ended up dropping Austin Theory with some elbows to the side of the head. And we had Kevin Owens end up coming out. So Seth Rollins wasn't happy about that. He was wondering why Kevin Owens was also coming out. So Austin Theory ended up capitalizing off the distraction of Kevin Owens coming out to, with Big E. Theory ended up mounting some offense on Big E, ended up nailing a neck breaker over his knee to Big E. So Kevin Owens ended up walking down to the ringside area to watch the match. Austin Theory ended up dropping Big E out of the ring, sending him out to the floor, right in front of Seth Rollins. And there was a point in the match where Big E ended up delivering a belly-to-belly suplex out of nowhere to Austin Theory. He delivered 2 belly-to-belly suplexes. And Big E ended up hitting a 3rd straight suplex in the middle of the ring. So Big E ended up dancing over Austin Theory. He ran the ropes and delivered a splash. At the end of the match, Austin Theory ended up turning around to a big ending by Big E. So Big E ended up hitting the big ending. He went for the cover. And there you go. Big E ended up winning the match, retaining the WWE Championship. Post-match, Owens and Rollins, they were arguing. They were shoving each other at ringside. Big E ended up taking the WWE Championship. Big E ended up running around the ring. He ended up decking Rollins from behind, sending him into Kevin Owens. Big E then tossed Rollins over the announce table. Big E ended up bringing Kevin Owens into the ring. And Kevin Owens ended up retreating up to the ramp. Rollins then came in, charged at Big E, but Big E ended up nailing the big ending, slamming Rollins with the big ending, and Rollins ended up rolling out to the floor. So Big E stood tall in the ring, raising the WWE Championship. So pretty much that was how Monday Night Raw went off the air. Overall, this match was just very meh, in my opinion. But overall, this Monday Night Raw god awful. Absolutely awful. Awful. It's awful every single week. What do you expect with Monday Night Raw every week? But anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later.